Bonnie isn't your friend, Carlton said, still holding her arm. He gasped at the immediate danger that the little blond boy faced as the girl struggled to break away. He isn't my friend. He found my puppy, she cried and yanked her arm free. No, don't go to him, Carlton pleaded. John, get back! John screamed and jolted awake, swinging his arms up to block an attack and jerking back. His head cracked against the cabinet behind him. Ow! He groaned, regaining awareness of where he was. He rolled over, holding his side gingerly, then held perfectly still, tilting his head to listen in silence. Reverberated through the space, weighing down the room with emptiness. Charlie, he whispered, everything that happened rushing back all at once. The hallway. John pulled himself to his feet with a slick dread, bracing himself against the cabinet door. His right foot gave way as soon as he pulled weight on it, pain shooting up through his ankle, and he put a hand against the wall for balance. Then hopped on his left foot to reach the door. He crashed hard against the door frame, wincing as his ribs flared with pain, then squinted, trying to see in the dark. Charlie, he called. The closet door was open and he could see figures inside, but he didn't make out anything distinct. He made his way to the closet, leaning in the wall and trying to ignore his throbbing ankle. It was difficult to see through the hanging coats, and he began to shove them aside, then stopped abruptly, scarcely avoiding the blade of a massive knife, almost a sword, pointing directly at him. He blinked his eyes adjusted. The blade was connected to an extended metal arm. The figure he at first thought was holding a knife had instead been running through with it. And behind it was something else, something familiar. He backed away, bending to look at the inhuman face of the creature impaled on the knife. He stared for a moment, his face growing hot, then suddenly he turned away and doubled over, overcome with a wave of nausea. He dropped his knees and retched, his ribs screaming protest as he heaved, but there was nothing in his stomach to throw up. He gasped, trying to make it stop, but his stomach clenched and spasmed until it felt like he would be turned inside out. When at last it began to update, John rested his forehead against the wall, his eyes watering. Light-headed, he got to his feet, feeling as if years had passed. He did not look into the closet again. John limped toward the door, grinding his teeth with every step, but he did not stop moving until he was outside the house, and he did not look back. There, Michael cheered, momentarily distracting Susie from trying to leave. The last phantom of the girl with long black hair came and sat with them. When she had emerged with the others like her, she blinked, and then looked up at him with a long, calm breath. We're all together now, Michael said with a smile. The drawings on the ground had disappeared, and five real seeming children sat with Carson under the table, no longer ghostly images. The rabbit isn't your friend, Carlton repeated. Susie gave him a puzzled look and pointed to the only drawing left, the large one that showed all five children with a smiling yellow rabbit. I said, bring him to the table, William said angrily, drawing Carlton's attention across the shadows. The painted faced fox caught its head to the side, but before William could scold it again, more noises came from the hall. The door opened, it pushed like something was bumping against it, and a variety of mechanical things made their way into the room, crawling and clawing their way across the floor in various states of disrepair. There were climbing babies and a dangling clown that had sat atop a carnival game in the dining rooms. Others filled Others followed in that Carlton did not realize. Walling dolls painted with clown faces, disjointed circus animals, and other things he could not give them. Get back! William hissed as the macabre professional and brushed a crawler aside with his foot, struggling to keep his balance. The little blunt boy had stopped crying. He was staring stunning at the creatures, shrinking away with his half black facing face. Afraid, afraid of them now? William turned on the boy. Don't fear them, fear me. He snarled with renowned strength, and he clenched his jaw, taking stiff but deliberate steps toward the boy. I'm the only one in this room that should be that you should be afraid of, he said, and the boy turned to him again, his face still full of fear. I'm as dangerous as I've always been, William growled. He grabbed the boy by the arm and dragged him to the table. No, no, no! Carlton shouted as he watched the shadowy figure hoist the boy into the table. He glanced helplessly at the children, but they looked at him blankly. Can't you see? He's hurting a boy. The children just shook their heads confusedly. He's in danger. I have to help him. Let me out. Carlton struggled to get up, but his legs were weighed down and anchored to the illusion. It's just Bonnie, Susie smiled. Bonnie is not your friend. He's the one that hurt you, don't you remember? Carlton cried with mounting frustration. He grabbed the final drawing from the wall and the one with the five children standing with the yellow rabbit and laid it flat on the floor. Then took up a red crayon. He bent over the drawing and began to make thick marks on it, pressing the crayon deep into the paper. The children strained closer to see what he was drawing. Here we go, William Afton said from the shadows. Carlton glanced up to see the little boy squirming on top of the mass of metal, where William was holding him in place. The table was heating up, the orange glow beginning to flare from within it. I'm running out of ideas, William said, failing to hide his anxiety. But if I'm not going to survive this, then you certainly aren't either. William pressed down the boy's chest and the boy struggled to free himself. Ouch! The boy cried as his elbow touched the table below, where the orange glow was spreading. He jerked his arm up and cradled it, sobbing, and then shrieked as his foot pressed onto the table and began to hiss. He yanked it back, howling. We will see where this takes us, William said. Look, Carlton yelled, tapping the drawing hard with his crayon. The children huddled close. The yellow rabbit's eyes were now dark red, and blood dripping from its mouth. The children looked confusingly at Carlton, but there was a spark of recognition in their faces. I'm sorry, Carlton said desperately. This is the bad man. This is the bad man. Carlton pointed from the drawing to William Afton and back again. He is the bad man who hurt you, and right now he's going to hurt someone else, Carlton pleaded. A hand grabbed William's pant leg and he shook it off. Get away from me, he growled, but the hand persisted. The tangle of parts connected to the purple fairy head was gathering around William's ankles, pieces plucking at him. I said, get off me, he said again. His legs shook beneath him and he let go of the boy, chittering as he struggled to regain his balance. He gasped for something steady and his head instinctively found the table. He recoiled, gasping in pain, and fell backward onto the floor, watching helplessly as the little blonde boy rolled off the table and ran back to the wall. After struggling to right himself as the wires and mechanical mechanisms scattered about the room all marched toward him to collect into a central mass, colliding up onto his body and threatening to engulf him. He pulled the pieces off and threw them aside to break apart in the concrete floor of the basement. Then got instantly to his feet. William set his eyes on the boy once more. Nothing else mattered. He took 3 deliberate steps forward, machines still wrapped around his legs. The head of the white fox snapped at him from his ankle, where it had wounded his limbs from around his leg, and the purple bear had sunk its jaw into his calf and was biting down. One of the crawling babies had climbed onto William's back, where it threshed its way back and forth, sending his frail body swaying. Another crawler held fast to his ankle, chewing at his flesh. Blood dripped onto the floor with each step as he took, but William's eyes remained fixed on the terrified boy, his fury only growing. Finally, in a burst of anger, he flung the robotic baby from his back and stomped down in the male bear's head, breaking its jaw and dislodging its teeth from his leg. At last, William reached the child. The blond boy screamed as William brushed his bony fingers over the boy's face. Then suddenly, William felt something blazing hot wrapped around his waist and yanked him back. He twisted widely and saw the creature from the table was standing on its 2 metal arms and were now gripping metal William from behind, pulling him away from the boy. Its skin contorted and moved like molten metal. Its motions jerky and unnatural. Its joints popped and snapped as it moved, as though each movement would have been possible. No! William cried, hearing the crackle of flame as his hospital gown caught fire. William pressed against the burning creature. Carlton opened his eyes and took breath, a real one. He clenched his chest and tried to remain motionless, lifting only his eyes to watch as a amalgamation of metal and cords pulled William Afton backward into the massive furnace. Smoke and fire erupted from the thing with a roar, and then the room was still. The creatures and parts that had been wriggling on the floor stopped at once and did not move again. Carlton felt the searing pain in his chest surge, and he slipped into darkness. Carlton! Carlton opened his eyes. Michael was sitting patiently beside him, apparently waiting for him to wake up. Is he okay now? Michael gave Carlton an anxious smile. Carlton looked up to see four small figures disappearing into a flood of light. Only Michael remained under the table. Is he okay? Michael repeated, waiting for confirmation. Yeah, Carlton whispered. He's okay. Go be with your friends. He smiled, but Michael didn't get up. He was looking at Carlton's chest, where someone had placed a drawing over his wound. This is a part of you, Carlton said, grasping at the picture. You'll die without it. Michael whispered. I can't keep this. Carlton shook his head as Michael pushed it back. You can give it to me next time you see me. Michael smiled, and the drawing began to fade, hovering where Michael had placed it for a last moment before the ghostly image vanished, seeming to sink into Carlton's chest. Thank you. Carlton heard the echo of Michael's voice. But Michael was gone, and there was nothing but the light. Carlton! John? Carlton, hang on. We're going to get you out of here. Mala, Jessica? Carlton!